Hi, welcome to another episode of Bill and Stacy's Paleo Kitchen. Today I'm going to do an updated version of our Paleo Mayonnaise using a stick blender. We made a video a couple years ago using a regular kitchen blender, and it's really difficult. It takes a little more time, and half the time it doesn't turn out very well. So this one is much easier. We use a Cuisinart stick blender. All I need is a couple of fresh eggs and light tasting olive oil. As you watch the video, you'll see some seasonings that we add. You can do that to your taste. If you're just listening in instead of watching the video, I'm going to try to be as descriptive as I can so that you'll get something out of this even if you can't see the screen. Some people ask why we go to the trouble of making our own mayonnaise at home instead of just buying it at a store. I like to control the ingredients, and most store-bought mayonnaise is made with soybean oil or some cheap refined vegetable oil that we're trying to limit. I eat a lot of this mayonnaise. I make sauces and salad dressings and sometimes just eat it off a spoon. And I would not eat that much mayonnaise coming out of a jar. It's your choice, but this is going to be healthy and you can control the ingredients. So sit back, watch or listen, and hopefully this helps you make a great batch of homemade mayonnaise.
So our typical batch mayonnaise, we use 2 eggs. If you're watching this video instead of listening to the podcast, you'll see that I'm using 3 eggs in this particular week. Everything I'm going to talk about today refers to the 2-egg batch, which will yield just shy of 2 cups of mayonnaise. That's plenty for Stacy and I for the week. We make the larger 3-egg batch when we know that we're using some for maybe a broccoli salad, or we need extra mayonnaise to make an extra sauce that we're planning on for another recipe. So we start by cracking the raw eggs into a bowl and adding about 1.5 tablespoons of fresh lime juice. We use pure organic bottle lime juice. You can also squeeze a fresh lime. If your eggs and or your lime juice was in the refrigerator, you really want to leave the bowl out for an hour or so to get it to room temperature. This is important. If it's cold, you may end up with runny mayonnaise. It may not thicken up like you would prefer. So next I add about 1 teaspoon of dry mustard powder and about 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt and garlic powder. Like all the recipes, we season to taste. So if you're not sure, go a little bit light, and you can always add the seasonings later to suit your taste. We use light tasting olive oil. It has a milder taste than extra virgin or regular olive oil. But you can use avocado oil also, but it just costs more. If you want it to be paleo and healthy, I wouldn't recommend using canola oil or cheap vegetable oils like corn or soybean. And the rule of thumb for our recipe is I use about 5 to 6 ounces of oil per egg. So figure 10 to 12 ounces of oil for the 2-egg batch. So you'll see we have seasoned the bowl, and now I'm going to take a stick blender. I'm going to pour in about half the oil right away and start blending. There is a way to make this with a regular kitchen blender or a Ninja style blender, but you'll probably not like doing so. It's a real pain. We have a Bill and Stacy's Paleo Kitchen video from a few years ago with Stacy showing you how to do the mayonnaise recipe in a blender. I'll include that link down below, but it's really worthwhile using a stick blender. It makes it much, much easier. We use a 2-speed Cuisinart stick blender. You can buy them anywhere for about 40 bucks. So you'll start blending, and after about 45 seconds or so, you'll start to see the mix thickening up. You move the blender around in the bowl in a circular fashion just to keep it mixing in. And then as I go, I'll add more oil. And over the next minute or so, I'll steadily pour the remaining oil while blending constantly. You can stop for a few seconds now and then. You don't need to keep it nonstop. After about 3 minutes, you'll start to see it thicken up more noticeably. As it starts to thicken, you'll want to spin the bowl around and make sure that you get all of the oil mixing in. So keep the blender stick moving around to turn in any excess oil. After about 4 minutes, you're finished. Sometimes it's a little sooner, sometimes it's a little longer. The more you make this, the more often you make this, you'll get a feel for the consistency you like and how long that it takes. So when it's done, it'll look like this. The mayonnaise should stay on the spoon, but it's easily shaken off. It's a little thicker than ketchup. If you want it a little thicker, just add more oil, about an ounce at a time, and continue blending. But be careful not to add too much, or it will turn out more like the consistency of cream cheese. It'll taste fine, but it won't be as easy to work with when you're making sauces or salad dressings. And just so you know, it will thicken up as it sits overnight. So I keep the bowl covered and refrigerated. I'm not going to leave this mayonnaise out. And that will last about a week, maybe a week and a half, but no longer. Since it doesn't have any preservatives, it's not going to last as long as your typical jarred mayonnaise. And it's like old milk. You'll know when it's bad. So there you have it. Bill and Staci's Paleo Mayonnaise, made with locally farmed eggs and light tasting olive oil. We use lime juice. You can use lemon juice if you prefer, and then season to your taste. Try it and let me know how it turned out. Until next time, thanks for listening.
And thanks for tuning in. I'd like to give some feedback if you thought that this episode using still pictures instead of live video through the entire process was helpful, or as helpful as watching me standing there mixing for 3 or 4 minutes and having you listen to a blender noise in the background. If this is helpful, it opens the door for me to make a lot more videos of some recipes of my favorite meals, especially things I do on the grill. If you have a moment, send me a note, make a comment if you like the still picture or would you rather have the live. Thanks.